Shonen anime is one of the most oversaturated genres out there. Think of the countless shows that you've missed due to this fact. I'm a bit of a shonen head myself, and honestly, the chances of not seeing a shonen series that you can think of are pretty damn low. So today I'm going to bring my top 5 most underrated shonen anime that I don't think you have seen. Some of these might be familiar, but I guarantee there's at least one in this list that you have never even heard of. These aren't just hidden gems, they're shows that have defied genres in my opinion, or at least had a massive visual or narrative impact on them, but over the years have been completely foreshadowed by bigger names. But that doesn't mean that they don't deserve the respect. We're talking deep storytelling and character arcs, or some with just an unbelievable amount of style that made them stand out. I personally believe that these 5 shows had a massive impact on some of the more modern shows out there, and I want you in the comments below. I want to see more. I want to see more shows that had massive impact on some of the bigger names that we know today. But anyway, we're going to start with number 5. And number 5 is 2001's Shaman King. 2001 Shaman King is an adaptation of Hirotaki's manga, obviously of the same name. And while it was pretty much a major hit back in the day, it often gets overlooked in recent years, especially when discussing the greats of the early 2000s shonen. What made Shaman King unique wasn't its supernatural battles or tournament settings, because, well, they're in abundance, but it blends a hip-hop aesthetic, traditional Japanese folklore, and an overarching theme of spirituality that gave it a distinct identity. The story follows Yo, a laid-back teenager with a rare ability to communicate with spirits. Not that rare in the greater realm of the show, but you know, as every protagonist's power is, it's rare for the average human to have it. He is a shaman, and as a shaman, he can merge with spirits and use their abilities. Spirit ghosts, I've seen that somewhere before. But his goal isn't just to be strong. He wants to become the Shaman King, a title that grants him the power to reshape the world with the Great Spirit. He wants to be the Wizard King or the Hokage or the Pirate King. But to do that, he has to grow a lot stronger and fight in this legendary tournament held every 500 years, where the world's most powerful shaman come and compete for the title. Along the way, he encounters allies that turn to rivals and rivals that turn to allies. None are more dangerous than his twin brother, you know, who seeks to do something very, very naughty. But this roster is filled with character, and no single guy feels similar to another, which I can't say the same for other big shonen. But what makes the 2001 anime different from the manga is that it started as faithful as it possibly could be. But much like the Full Metal Alchemist show, it diverged heavily around episode 30, creating its own original ending since the manga wasn't going to be finished in any time soon. This led to a very different conclusion compared to the source material, with maybe a rushed final battle and a resolution that left some fans wanting more. I personally don't feel that way. I think that the original story is perfect, and although it might not be what the manga fans wanted, I can tell you that anime fans were just happy at the time, at least over here in Europe and the West. Even with its difference, this version of Shaman King holds a special place in fans' hearts, mainly for its animation, music, and overall nostalgic charm. Just look at these legs, they're so unique. I rewatched most of it for this video, and I can confidently say that personally I think it holds up. The fights are engaging, and the themes of like destiny and free will and its darker themes really make the kids show element of the anime less potent. It might not have had the most satisfying ending, but it remains a must watch to anyone who loves classic 2000s anime. Now, this list is about underrated anime. I think this one needs no introduction. If you grew up in the early 2000s, you definitely heard of the phrase, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Was more than just a card game, often go overlooked. Unlike traditional battle shonen that relied on physical combat, Yu-Gi-Oh! Turned strategy, mind games, and a little bit of philosophical warfare into its core elements. It was much darker than anything around at the time. Every duel was more than just a match. It was a life or death chess game. Every single misstep would cost you, well, everything. You do not want to go to the Shadow Realm. In the 2000s, Yu-Gi-Oh!'s Duel Monster anime took off. And I would like to put the mangaka's name here, but I just cannot pronounce it. So he created the original manga and expanded it into something legendary. While the manga originally had a darker tone with games just beyond cards, believe it or not, the anime focuses primarily on the duel monsters aspect, mainly because, well, selling kids cards actually pops off, which turned into the perfect decision. It's what set Yu-Gi-Oh! Apart from what made every other duel feel like an intense battle of wits rather than a simple card game. Protagonist Yugi Moto and his alter ego, the Spirit of the Pharaoh, aren't just playing for fun. Each match has real stakes that have long-term consequences within the story itself, which, by the way, crazy in a kids show, whether that's for the fate of his friends, their own souls, or even the entire goddamn world itself. But what really cemented Yu-Gi-Oh's legacy was the use of tournament arcs, a theme in this video, just by the way. The Duelist Kingdom and Battlecry arcs defined what Shonen tournaments should be like, to a degree. We'll get to them later. But what it did do better than most others was the high-stake rivalries. But what they did better than most are high-stake rivalries. These arcs inspired countless anime, right? Main one being Byakugan, straight up just a rip of Yu-Gi-Oh! Beyond the structure, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one of the first shonen to create battles that didn't rely on brute strength, but instead required actual thinking and counterplay. Obviously those fights did, but at least those elements weren't prevalent to the same degree. Shows like No Game No Life and Kataguri and Kaiji the Gambler really owe a lot to Yu-Gi-Oh! And its approach to that meticulous strategy. That being said, they constantly break their own rules of the game. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt because I am glazing it because I'm nostalgic. Another underrated aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is surprisingly its themes. While the 4Kids dub tried to soften things up with themes like the Shadow Realm, when really people just get banged, and it really pushed for like the power of friendship crap, which honestly in hindsight is just funny. It adds to the culture of the show. But even aside from that, even the 4Kids dub had all this censoring and making it so like squishy. It still had like way more mature themes than at least I had seen at that time when I was a kid. Personally, I always thought it was creepy and really eerie. Didn't love to watch it when I was particularly young, but when I got a little older, I was really satisfied with it. Sometimes all you need is a deck of cards and the heart of them. Now, people have probably heard of this next one too, okay? The goal is to show you one thing you haven't seen, okay? But when I look at like reviews and I look at the stats of how many people watch this was below a lot of the stuff even on this list. And that's really disappointing. Because the next one on the list is a personal favorite of mine, YuYu Hakusho. Before Hunter x Hunter, Togashi created YuYu Hakusho, an anime that doesn't nearly get enough credit in modern discussions. Don't get me wrong, a lot of people cover YuYu Hakusho out of nostalgia, but outside of that, not really. But it often gets foreshadowed by other shonen juggernauts, that followed in its wake. But don't misjudge, its influence can be seen in modern anime more so than pretty much anything else, because it influenced the juggernauts that now are influencing modern manga. Heard of Bleach? Yeah, watch the first 5 episodes of Bleach and watch the first 5 episodes of YuYu Hakusho. Tell me if you find 1 or 2 similarities. The entire premise. The story follows Yusuke. He's a delinquent. My favorite type of guy with the hair like Pow. Yusuke unexpectedly dies while trying to save a child from a passing car, but he's given a second chance at life and becomes a spirit detective. He is tasked with investigating supernatural threats in the human world. But start off with a simple ghost story, quickly evolves into a high-stakes battle anime featuring what I personally think is the best tournament arc in all of anime. One thing that made YuYu Hakusho so great was its balancing of character depth, humor, and raw emotion. Unlike many modern shonen protagonists, Yusuke wasn't a hero in the traditional sense. He was a street brawler who didn't give a crap about saving the world. He just wanted to protect the people he personally cared about. The Dark Tournament arc is often considered one of the greatest tournament arcs in all of shonen, as I said, setting the bar for everything that came after it. The fights were fast, brutal, and incredibly well animated for their time. Instead of drawn out battles that take multiple episodes, YuYu Hakusho kept things engaging and quick. Strategy and combat showcased each character's unique fighting style. Even decades later, the anime remains one of the best examples of how to do a shonen right. There's only really one show that can take the cake on telling you how to do the shonen, and this prick hasn't watched it. The classic that started it all. When people talk about Dragon Ball, they usually think of intense battles, screaming power-ups, and planet-destroying fights. And recently, aura farming. Even though every time Vegeta does this, he gets his ass whooped. But what many people forget is that the original Dragon Ball was extremely different based, much closer to what you're seeing now in Daima. It wasn't just another Battle Shonen, mainly because, well, Battle Shonen didn't really friggin' exist. It created Battle Shonen. This did. It was a mix of adventure and comedy and martial arts with really good themes that Akira Toriyama just walks back on, unfortunately. All in Z, by the way. But it felt more like a journey than a series where your power level just keeps going up. At its core, Dragon Ball follows the young Son Goku, a naive but incredibly strong boy with a monkey tail. Monkey. It'd be crazy to me that someone who's watched Super didn't know Goku used to have a tail. The journey follows him as he sets out on a quest to find the legendary Dragon Balls, 7 mythical orbs that grant any wish when gathered. This is far more epic than it is now. The Dragon Balls get gathered like that because plot, but in Dragon Ball, anytime they were gathered, it was genuinely special. Along the way, he meets unforgettable characters like Bulma, Master Roshi, Krillin, and Yamcha, but unlike Dragon Ball Z, which was focused on intense battles and power-ups and scaling that made me want to shoot my... Dragon Ball was more about exploring, training, and honestly, humor. It was freaking hilarious, with plenty of heartwarming moments in between. One of my personal favorites is one that's referenced in Super. When Goku in Super is waiting outside of Baba's house because they're summoning Frieza, Goku is doing a shadow match against his grandpa Gohan, and he follows the exact same structure as when he fought him in Dragon Ball. And if you've seen that arc in Dragon Ball, you know how heartwarming that is. But for most, the biggest strength in Dragon Ball was its tournament arcs. You know why? Because it literally created them. Whoa. The world's martial art tournament introduced fans to structured, skill-based combat before the franchise became about who could scream the loudest. These fights are strategic fun and had some of the best choreographed fights in early anime. If you've seen Piccolo Jr. versus Krillin, it's peak. Battles weren't just about raw strength. Techniques and clever tactics played a huge role in these fights, making every fight genuinely unique and engaging in a way that even Dragon Ball Z is numb to. Compared to Dragon Ball Z, it also had a more lighthearted and comedic tone. Akira Toriyama's early writing blends action and absurd humor, which gave the series a unique charm, from like Goku's innocence to misunderstanding that Roshi's basically, and even though it did all this, the show never took itself too seriously while delivering its epic moments. Now, okay, we've had a lot of classics, a lot of titans, but this is for me, Space Dandy. Now I know what you're thinking, Space Dandy is more of a comedy than traditional shonen. Well, yes and no! It's definitely not your typical battle shonen, but it embodies everything that makes shonen great. Adventures, action, humor, and a protagonist who's always thriving for something greater, even if that something is just a good meal and some alien babes, boobies. Directed by Shigeru Wabi. Love that man, but I am dyslexic. But this is the same genius behind Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and Space Dandy is wild, colorful, and beautifully animated. The series follows a ridiculous adventures of Dandy, a pompadour rockin' bounty hunter who searches for the galaxy's rare aliens to capture them so they can be cataloged. He's basically kidnapping people. It's kind of funny. He's accompanied by his misfits crew, Meow, a cat-like alien, and QT, a sassy vacuum cleaner. Yeah. See, not the most bombastic cast, but that's what's perfect about it. What makes Space Dandy special is its sheer unpredictability. Unlike most shonen, where stories follow a clear progression, where your character gets better and does the right thing and follows the formula, Space Dandy reinvents itself with every episode. One week, it's a high-stakes space race. The next, it's a zombie apocalypse. Then suddenly, we're in a surreal episode about parallel universes. The show never follows a single formula that has ever existed, which keeps it exciting and perfect. But Josephu, I want something with more substance. You can't really have number one if it's just a gag anime. Wrong! Beyond the humor and randomness, Space Dandy has heart, damn it. It might seem like a carefree comedy, but it explores deep things about identity, loneliness, and what it means to truly live. It's a celebration of life's unpredictability and makes one of the most unique shonens ever made. It does all of this despite being relatively unknown compared to Onatabi's other works. Space Dandy deserves more love, but also it doesn't, because then more people will like it and I won't feel cool for liking it more than everyone else. But if you are looking for an anime that consistently surprises you and makes you laugh and still delivers amazing action scenes, Space Dandy is just a unbelievable must watch. It's no secret that I love Space Dandy, okay? I really put off talking about it at all on this channel for such a long time, because if I ever did, I feel like I would have to do an hour-long video about everything I love about it. And you might have noticed a theme in my character. He might just be a little bit Space Dandy inspired. So there you have it, my 5 most underrated shonen anime that you might not have seen. But tell me what you guys think. What is the most underrated shonen anime? Like seriously, I want to know. And once again, I want to know what that anime has influenced, because that might be coming up in a new video and I might take a little screenshot of your comment and put it in the video. So make sure to put it in the comment below. And if you can, tag the anime you're talking about so that I can track it better in the search engine. I really appreciate that. And that's all I'm asking from you. I hope you enjoyed the video and my shirt.